Hello and welcome to your Daily Detroit for Thursday, September 10th, 2020. I'm J.R. Stays. On today's show, Karen Dybis talks about drive-in eats around town. There's some great places to visit. Fletcher Sharpe updates us on Detroit City FC, the Tigers, and the Lions. But first, 3 things to know around town. Let's just get started. Former Macomb County Prosecutor Eric J. Smith has pleaded guilty to 1 count of obstruction of justice. It's part of a deal with the Detroit U.S. Attorney's Office as he was being investigated for allegedly using more than $50,000 in campaign funds for his personal use. Here's how it worked, according to the Macomb Daily. Over 7 years, Smith allegedly wrote checks totaling $55,000 from campaign funds to a friend for rent payments of a property that friend owned. But instead, authorities allege the checks were cashed at the bank by his property owner friend and kicked back to Smith for his personal use. And the obstruction charge is tied to Smith allegedly telling his staff to lie to investigators around his spending. This isn't the only thing officials were looking into Smith about. He's also been under investigation for misuse of county forfeiture funds. The Michigan Attorney General's office had filed 10 criminal counts as part of a year-long probe. At the time, they said that they found that, along with 2 other defendants, Smith allegedly had bought a security system for his house, garden benches for staff homes, country club catering, makeup, and flowers for certain secretaries, and more. Smith resigned his post as Macomb County Prosecutor at the end of March. As of this recording, it is not clear how much of a sentence he will serve, but it could be up to 20 years, although I think that much is not likely. There's a freeway closure you should know about for the weekend. MDOT says eastbound I-94 will be closed starting at 9 p.m. Friday in parts of Macomb and Wayne counties this weekend, so crews can work on replacing the East Grand Boulevard overpass. It'll be closed from I-75 to I-696, so that is a pretty big chunk of freeway. Crews have to set new bridge beams and keep going on road resurfacing work that's happening on I-94. Plus, westbound I-94 will just have 1 lane open between I-75 and the Lodge for work on the 2nd Avenue Bridge. The I-75 ramps to westbound I-94 will also be closed through the weekend. All of this should open back up in time for your Monday morning commute at 5 a.m. In related news, the state of Michigan closed today on an $800 million bond issue that marks the first installment in Governor Gretchen Whitmer's $3.5 billion Rebuilding Michigan program. The bonds are to cover the cost of rebuilding some of Michigan's most highly traveled freeways. When all of the billions of bonds are sold over the next few years, they will help fund what the state calls major work on more than 120 highways. The program is a funding patch as the legislature and governor did not come to a deal to do long-term, sustainable road funding for fixing Michigan's freeways. Michigan still spends among the least per person of neighboring states on our roads and bridges. A legendary field in Hamtramck has a new name. On Wednesday, the Hamtramck City Council unanimously approved naming the field at Hamtramck Stadium Norman Turkey Stearnes Field. Hamtramck Stadium, if you didn't know, was the one-time home of the legendary Detroit Stars baseball team out of the Negro National League. Now, I normally wouldn't use such a word, but that was the literal name of the all-black league that provided an outlet when baseball was a segregated sport. The Stars played from 1919 to 1931, and Stearnes was a Hall of Fame center fielder for the team. The playing field has been restored with a brand new grass infield, and renovation of the grandstands is set to begin this spring. And that's all thanks to the work of the Friends of Hamtramck Stadium. I recently swung by there myself and saw what was going on when I was picking up some galaba from Yemen Cafe. I gotta say, the work is awesome. If you don't know where it is, it's right next to Keyworth where Detroit City FC plays. It's a great little corner of Metro Detroit. So a big tip of the cap to the Friends of Hamtramck Stadium. Well, now, Stearnes Field. I am excited to see this happen. I'd also note for historical purposes that the Detroit Stars also played at Mack Field on Detroit's east side, but that is a housing development now. Before we get to our conversations with Karen and Fletcher, a quick reminder to remember to become a member at patreon.com/dailydetroit. Your support helps keep this podcast free and available to everyone else. Local coverage requires local support, so join us and get stickers or a bourbon glass at patreon.com Daily Detroit. Also, if you've got feedback for the show, give us a call, 313-789-3211. That's 313-789-3211. We very well may play it on the air, and we'd love to hear from you. Now, Karen Dybis. With the proliferation of takeout, takeaway, drive-through, all the things that are happening right now, one of the things that we can take a look at, maybe, patronize with our dollars, is the Venerable Drive-In restaurant. Yes, that's still a thing, and yes, they are all around Michigan. And to talk about it, Karen Dybis, good to talk to you.
Happy to talk about restaurants and getting people out of the house.
Absolutely. And this is a great way to go out with somebody you know or your family to go enjoy a night out and be able to do it in a socially distanced manner and patronize some cool historic sites.
That's the thing, is a lot of these restaurants came into being because of the crazy car culture and post-World War II baby boom. So they're a good reason to get out of the house, just like a drive-in theater. You can do a drive-in restaurant, and they're kind of naturally socially distant.
Well, you have a great piece up on ChevyDetroit.com's In the D, and it talks about a few of these places. One of them I wanted to highlight close by and in Metro Detroit was Daly's Drive-In, if I'm saying that correct, which I, of course, appreciate as being Daly Detroit, although it's spelled different.
Yeah, you guys should have a partnership. All the chili cheese fries in exchange for coverage.
Oh, that would be good. Like as a membership reward doing chili cheese fries, that would be great.
Now see, that's the best kind of business meeting I could think of right there.
Agreed. So what's the deal with this place?
They're a fun one to talk about because it is a second generation owner. So his mom and dad opened it, and then Scott Grace took it over when he was about 21. So he's been at this business for like 30 or 40 years, helping serve all this comfort food to Metro Detroit. And so it was a blast talking to him and learning about all their unique kind of like your French fry smothered in chili and cheese standards. But then they also have this great thing they call the Chi-Chi, which is a sandwich with a bun, American cheese, and coney sauce. That's it. That's the entire recipe. So
wow.
If you gained your coronavirus weight, the COVID-19 as it's jokingly known, you don't need to necessarily order that. They'll have some soups or, maybe some chili or something in the weeks coming up. But he said that people are going crazy for the comfort food, and they can just drive in, enjoy a meal, and drive home. And I think that's the key for me is if you do takeout, sometimes certain things don't translate well in that when they get cold, maybe it's not as delicious. So this is a nice, happy medium for people. They can pull in, stay in their car, and eat that warm, crispy French fry or fried mushroom they said they're selling tons of right there on site. And everybody loves this kind of food right now.
You talk about the fried mushroom. One of my favorite drive-in places in Michigan is Clydes up in the UP, and they've got the fried cauliflower, and I like to stop there after going to Mackinac.
I got to tell you, we tried Clydes for the first time this summer when we went up north to the UP for vacation, and it is the real deal. It met every description that you gave it, and so we tried it as a family, and all four of us were just blown away with how good the food was. And how fun it was to sit outside and, we could bring the dog and everybody enjoyed it so much. So they are a must if you're driving up north to try out.
Well, and there's a couple others you talk about in Metro Detroit, one of them being in Novi.
Yeah, this is what's so much fun is these places are all a hop, skip, and a jump away. You just got to kind of make an effort to go see them. So like you've got the Grand Diner in Novi, again, family operated. They got great traditional recipes and so much, again, fried. You can't resist hitting up some of these places for the comfort food angle. The other one I wanted to throw out there was Eddie's in Harrison Township. I did a poll of what were people's favorite drive-in restaurants, and Eddie's gets huge raves. So that's my next on my list is to go check out their roller skating car hops because I think that's another nostalgic moment just waiting for my kids to experience.
Oh, yeah. And that just adds entertainment to the whole thing, too, right? Because, there is takeout and going to a park or whatever, but it's kind of nice to have something that's an experience in these times.
Yeah, it's like dinner and a show. It just brings you back to when people took the time to make these places special and kind of making an experience from the sidewalk up. Everything is unique and different, and to see people run back and forth with the meal on a tray, roller skating around, I mean, there's really nothing more American than putting stuff on four wheels and having a bite to eat.
Well, I don't want to make you pick a favorite, but is there a favorite dish out of these places? We talked about a few of them. There's more on the website, which I want to make sure that people go to, and I will put a link in the show notes for it. But is there a dish in these that is a favorite of yours?
Well, as far as the one thing you cannot miss, I always have to throw out there A&W. The one in Berkeley is the one I usually go to. And that, again, that frosty root beer is no joke. That is so sweet and perfect and very unique to that location. So I love that. And then again, I'm a French fry, onion ring devotee. There's really nothing better than that. You add a side of coleslaw, maybe some chicken fingers, maybe a nice greasy burger. I mean, these things are going to fill you up, and you're going to just completely feel like you've kind of had a meal to drive home by, and everybody's going to be pretty happy in that car ride. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to admit that there are some selfies of me and friends with the A&W Bear up in, what was it, Lake Orion or one of those, Ortonville. Up in Ortonville, I visited once.
I love it.
That vintage bear is the bomb.
Yeah, and that's it. It's like there's certain things that are landmarks to our life, and I feel like without these kind of drive-in restaurants and, again, the movie theaters, they serve as these landmarks that not only feed us, but they give us this moment of, like you say, entertainment and something that we take pictures by. And I always think if you can create moments like that for the public, we'll never let you down. We're going to come back and support you. And even Daly said that. They said business is down, of course, but they see people coming by and they really appreciate having the customers support them. And especially in the restaurant industry, their margins are so thin. And a lot of them are hanging on by a thread. So you're actually doing a good deed by getting out and eating at these restaurants. So I know they appreciate it.
Well, I will be sure to put a link to this piece in the show notes. And of course, do not forget to follow Karen on Twitter at Karen Dybis, which, is a very clear handle, which I very much appreciate.
Once in a while, I change my name on there to like Elon Musk's son's name just for fun. But yeah, we try to make it easy on people to track us down.
Well, Karen, thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Joining me as he does always for all things sports ball, Fletcher Sharpe. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. All right. So Detroit City FC finished off their regular season last night. What happened, my man?
They tied New York Cosmos 0-0. I honestly expected Detroit to come in there and get like a 1-0 win. So 0-0 is kind of on par. They were missing reserve striker Elijah Rice, but they added a lot more yellow cards on both sides. It was a very chippy game. Players were getting bumped and going down. Players were getting kicked in the chest. It was just a very sloppy game. So for them to finish where they finished currently, right now they're currently third in the Eastern standings, feels about right. That loss against Chattanooga early on really is going to sting, especially in the standings. People are going to hate that I'm going to say this, but right now, currently the second best professional team in Michigan, behind the Michigan Stars.
Ooh.
Which is, I guess, not where they expected to see themselves right now.
Well, I don't think anyone did. Detroit City's had a nice run the last few years, and this seems to be like a pretty disappointing season.
I kind of did. The reason why I kind of did, it's an odd year.
You and that superstition, man. I remember that from last year. You warned people.
Am I wrong right now?
You're not. Oh, man, Fletch, you're not wrong at all.
Yeah. They're still going to the playoffs, but
Is that because everybody goes?
No, they're taking, I think, the top 3 or 4 from each division, albeit the West Coast only has 3 teams, so they're all going.
Okay.
But, they said they don't know where the playoffs are going to be held, but I think the New York Cosmos coach let it slip out of the bag during his halftime show, where he was like, we're going to wrap up our games and get ready to go to Michigan for the playoffs.
Ah.
And, apparently Nisa's we don't know where the playoffs are going to be, but, if coaches are telling people, they're going to be here, you have to assume either Detroit or Michigan Stars are hosting, and I feel like if it's record-wise, the Stars would host, but I feel like if it's just venue-wise, Detroit's venue is way better than Michigan Stars. That's no disrespect to Ultimate Soccer arenas.
Right. Well, and if you look at the preview footage that even Nisa uses on their website, the first shot is an opening hero shot of a drone raising off of Keyworth and looking at the city skyline in the background. It's a pretty amazing venue, especially for this level of soccer.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's next? How do you feel about their playoff chances?
If they don't score goals, not well. Their penalty kick history is not great. It's not terrible, but for teams with histories of taking penalty kicks, you want to be we've only lost 1. But they've lost 2 very big ones against Midland Odessa for the NPSL semifinal. And then they've lost their last game in the NPSL against rival Cleveland SC. So I know that they have different players from then for the most part, but those histories seem to follow teams. So like you could get like a whole new roster, but if you're like not great at taking penalty kicks, your team will still be bad for some reason. I guess it's like a psyche thing. If you're not scoring goals, at least don't give up goals. But then that means you have to go to penalty kicks, and at that point, it's just a crapshoot. Your player who scores you 100 goals a game could somehow be a terrible penalty taker. They have one of those, unfortunately, in Jean-Claude Lawson, who is a great player, but his one bugaboo is stepping up to the spot and taking penalties. And like while he's scored a lot of goals, he's someone who, while I think is a great player, I do not want taking kicks for me. Not at all. So hopefully they can find a way to score some goals so the game does not go to end of regulation play. Because if it comes to that, I don't see them advancing at all.
Yeah, and it's hard to make a prediction right now when we don't know exactly who they're playing yet.
Of the teams they probably can play, looking where they are right now, between Stars, Cosmos, maybe Chattanooga, it does not look good for them, considering that their one win came against New Amsterdam, who I don't think will be invited.
Who do you want Detroit City FC to play for a win, and who are you really worried about if they draw them?
I am worried about Chattanooga again because they could not defend Chattanooga's telephone pole of a midfielder in Ian McGrath, and that's a problem because one player should not be causing that many problems. If I had to choose between the teams remaining, I'd prefer that they play the Stars just because it'd be a better story for them to beat the Stars in the playoffs. Cosmos worry me also because while they are kind of in the same boat as Detroit, where like they have not really been scoring like that, they have the pedigree of a team who's like normally finishing near the top, normally doing really great things. They have players who've played all around the world. I feel like they could find a way to just figure it out and like grind out a win. And right now, I don't think Detroit can do that. And I don't want them to face a team that's like full of grinders. Honestly, if I could pick, I want them to play New Amsterdam because New Amsterdam is helpless. I can say this. The champion of the league, whoever it's going to be, will most likely be in the Eastern Conference because these Western Conference teams are like not great. I don't mean that in like a mean way, but like Oakland Roots, they've done amazing things for social justice. They have these amazing jerseys. They have a great logo. They have all this stuff. And they're actually moving on to the USL Championship at the end of the season, I think. But they just got their first away win this year, and they've been around for almost 3 years now. So that should tell you, like, great stuff they're doing, but not great product on the field. So I'm not worried. That's, like, the best team out west. So I'm not worried about any team over there. I'm worried about the teams in their conference because that's where all the action's happening so far.
Right. Well, we will definitely circle back to that when that comes up and we know more about what teams and such. I do want to move on to the couple of the major league teams. First off, the Detroit Tigers yesterday was brutal. I saw parts of that game, that 19-0 loss against the Brewers. And I mean, our pitching looked hapless, our hitting looked hapless. And, you know, we were theoretically a game or so away from being in playoff contention, but it felt like the same old Tigers yet again.
Yeah, I was looking through my Apple TV. And like Apple TV has a thing where it's like up next and it'll post like a picture of the game with like the score. And I saw 0-0 and I'm like, all right. And I came back like an hour later and I was like, oh, must be a glitch because there's no way they're down by that many runs already. And then I came back near the end and I'm like 19-0. I don't think that's right. That can't be right. So then me being the technological maven that I am, I asked Alexa and Alexa replied with the score and I was stunned. It reminds me of that one time where you're playing a game with your partner and they're like, if I win, you got to watch Bridget Jones' Diary or something. And you're like, nope, not going to let that happen anytime soon. And you just crush them entirely to make sure that you just avoid that. So I feel like something had to have happened where one of the Tigers players like, hey, if we win, we're going to go, do this. And they're like, nope, not happening. Not at all. But if there's an upside, the Tigers did not give up the most runs yesterday.
What?
The Atlanta Braves beat the Marlins 29-9.
Wow. And they didn't even lose by the most because 29-9, that's a 20-point difference.
I mean, losing by 19 runs and not scoring stinks, but giving up almost a major league record for runs in a game, which is 30, feels a bit worse.
I mean, this doesn't feel like a very high quality baseball, if you ask me.
You kind of expect that with most sports. Some teams will be a bit sharper than other teams and like they will play and this is what's going to happen. People get folded and that's just pro sports. If it was college sports, I'd feel a little bit bad for them because, like, hey, like, whatever. But pro sports, you get paid to have that happen. So, like, man, just pitch better. That's all I can really say.
I don't have high hopes for the rest of the Tigers season. There's been some bright spots, early on and things like that. But this season, I mean, I thought maybe with a shorter season, we would have a chance to do like some sort of breakout or, try to like hope springs eternal with the song of the turtle and all the other stuff. And no.
The only thing I'm really keeping track of with the Tigers the past 2 years since like they've just kind of hit the nosedive is Miguel Cabrera strengthening his Hall of Fame candidacy. And that's really it. Anything outside of that, it's like, well, I care because like it's sports in Detroit, but like, yeah, I'd expect him to lose 90 games, at least 90 games every season. So like, as long as Miguel can like keep adding stats to his Hall of Fame candidacy, as long as he doesn't hurt his WAR rating too much, that's really all I care about because that guy deserves to have a bust in Cooperstown. So hopefully he doesn't damage his candidacy with these last few years of the Tigers because that would really make me sad.
Then the Lions had a new pickup, Adrian Peterson. What are your thoughts on that?
If this was 2015, it's a great pickup because he used to be one of the greatest running backs in the history. He still is one of the greatest running backs in the history of the NFL. I remember there's a clip been playing against the Cleveland Browns. And like a man goes to tackle him and he literally grabs the guy and literally throws this entire human being out of bounds before he runs up the sideline. And honestly, you could tell people were coming to tackle him until he did that. They're like, oh no, you can just go. Like, it's fine. We don't want any sort of business with you, kind sir, because you threw a grown man out of bounds by like his shoulder pads. So now I'm not sure. He had a decent year last year with the Washington team, but I don't want to say he's run out of gas. But he's not the player that we all saw gash the Lions over and over and over again. I'm sure he can add something to the running game, but like for him, a good year last year was about just under 900 yards, and like that'd be amazing for a Lions running back. But like we seem to bring in these running backs who have great careers, whether it be college or great professional careers, and we just don't use them because we get behind so early. And it's like, well, we got to rely on Stafford to throw the ball 9,000 times and just hope that works. We could bring in third-year Barry Sanders to play with us, and he'd still only get 400 yards because, like, we get behind so quickly. It's like now we have to throw the ball. So unless we figure out how to protect a lead, how to protect our quarterback, and, like, how to stop them from scoring, I don't really care who they bring in the backfield because they really won't get the ball much unless we're playing against a team worse than us, which looking at the ratings is going to be a very hard thing to do.
Well, it's interesting, too, because I believe it's a 1-year deal, so it's not that big of a chance on this guy. Like, it's like, well, 1 year, if it doesn't work out, you move on.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the thing in sports where if a player is over the age of 33, 34, it's like, well, you get a 1-year deal, and if it works out, we'll get another one. If it doesn't, then, like, bye. It's the whole thing of, like, you were great before, but, like, we're not going to risk more than a year investment into you. And like I understand it, but also like it's kind of seems to send a bad message to your younger running backs because you have 2 younger running backs. They drafted Kerryon Johnson and they just recently drafted another one. I don't know what you're telling them if you need to sign a basic Hall of Famer to be a part of your running back squad. What that's telling me is like you don't have faith in them. And that's very much not a good thing to be telling your young running backs because if you shake someone's career early, they might not recover.
Makes sense.
I do understand why you'd add a player like that. Hopefully the coach figures something out because right now all faith in him offensively is lost entirely. So hopefully there's like some master plan that like the Patriots have done before that they're going to try to emulate here and actually do it with the right people as opposed to just trying to copy them and failing again. I'm not like a football fan as much anymore, but just from the memories of like being a huge Lions fan, it's immensely frustrating to watch your team like try to copy other teams and still fail at doing that.
It is hard being a Lions fan.
As you know how I feel about tanking. I don't want them to be like, oh, we're going to try again. Then half through the year, be like, oh, it's a lost cause. Let's just go for that number 1 pick. That doesn't fix anything. You getting the best receiver will not stop our quarterback from getting hit. You getting another linebacker is not going to stop our defensive line from getting gashed or our cornerbacks from getting torn apart. Let's try to get pieces we actually need and not just these flashy pieces to make people go like, wow, we don't have an offensive line, but wow, look at this great running back who was last great, 5 years ago. Awesome. Because like the fans aren't stupid. And I think the ownership should know the fans aren't stupid. And I'm not saying the fans should like go and freak out and like revolt, but like they should understand that, yes, we should be getting pieces we actually need, not pieces that are going to make people forget the fact that we're still ineffective at defending our players from getting hit in the backfield.
Well, Fletcher Sharpe, always good to talk to you. You can follow him on Twitter at SaintFDW. And, let's keep doing this.
For sure.
And we are done for today. Thanks so much for listening to your Daily Detroit. With that, I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and I'll see you around Detroit. Talk with you tomorrow.